Now, what I meant by point defence, even if troops are coming towards you, look. Really cool, isn't it? Because it's got a lot of the guns don't have like a downwards arc like that. They just get the lowest point to be here. But this is super cool. This is. I mean, you can shoot towards the front. My advice would be, if you land this ship, you want to land it in a crater. Yeah, you could argue that they're shooting down on you, but this way, then at least you can shoot the gun, eh? What else have we got in here? Let's have a look. I confirmed. It looks like I've actually broken both my wrists. Doesn't look very healthy, does it? Let's have a look upwards. Didn't look up, did we? Wow. So, yeah, I mean, you can... I would say probably one of the better turrets, isn't it? Yeah, I like it. But saying that, the forward guns are way better anyway, so you're probably more likely going to be using the forward guns most of the time. Unless one of your buddies want to jump in here and try and help out. Help with a bit of flanking fire. Oh, over that, or the old point defence thing. No, I don't think them arms move, do they? So I just had a quick look up there. I think them inner arms come down, up and down, don't they? Let's have a look. Oh, I changed the DPI down. Whoa. Yeah, I think the inner arms just go up and down, not the outer ones. So that's a bit of a bummer, isn't it? Well, try and see what I was going to... Not today, obviously, but I'm going to try and see what other things I can get in here. M50, maybe? What do you reckon? It's quite wide. Might do. That'd be pretty decent to get an M50 in here. Anyway, let's go and have a look up the front. Four seats here. Jump in one of these first of all, let's have a look. Get your console. Can't turn the console on, so... And up the front. There is a little window up the top, but you can't really see out there when you're sitting in the seat. Now, some people argue about the visibility of the ship and blah, 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 but at the end of the day, you can't have a perfect ship of everything. And to be fair, this is definitely one of the better ships in game at the moment, by far. It's just usable. You've got a good amount of cargo. The manoeuvrability is fantastic. Let's jump in this seat. So, should be flight ready already, shouldn't I? Take a little bit of a fly and you'll see what I mean. Yeah, the good thing about it is, like I said, because you've got some serious powerful engines there. The reason it's got obviously double, because you're carrying double the load, basically, aren't you? So you've got the same manoeuvrability that you have in the base Freelancer than you have in this when you're fully loaded. And it just handles fantastically. I mean, look, you can really turn. It's not slow at all. And coming out of atmosphere is pretty decent. It's just overall really good. Compared to all the other ships, because there's a transition you make. You go from, I won't say medium to large, but I suppose that is the case. You go between this one to probably next to Constellation, and then from the Constellation to a Starfarer. They're quite big leaps, aren't they? And this is now the fastest ship before you go to that next size. I.e., when you go to the Constellation, the handling is much slower. Getting out of the atmosphere is much slower. This thing does at 1,005. Compared to the other freelancers go, there's not a massive amount of difference. I think the other one does 1,045. I mean, whoopee, you know what I mean? It's not a massive difference. But this thing shifts, and it picks up speed quickly, regens its own boost, which I know is going to go anyway, afterburner, which is going to go at some point anyway when the new flight controls come in. But either way, what an awesome ship. I think if you've got one of these now, you should be really, really pleased. Once again, it just looks really cool, doesn't it? Very impressed with this ship. In fact, might even pick one up just to use for the next year or so in Star Citizen and doing some cargo runs. Because this is, like I said, this is a sort of one you could do a cargo run and then nip off and go and do an NPC mission. It's fantastic. Awesome ship. Anyway, let me know in the comments if you've got one of these guys and if you've tried it out yet, or if you're waiting to try it out. Very exciting. You will not be disappointed. What a fantastic ship. Okay, the last thing on the agenda today, if you're looking to join a Star Citizen organisation, check out the link in the description below. That's it from me. Thanks for listening, and don't forget to subscribe.
Yes, that was a very good video. And subscribe, because he play Star Citizen. And give a like, and add to my list. Yes, that was the Freelancer Max. It does looks very good. Yes, I'll close my emails. Yes. And we have the Freelancer Miss. Yes, that's from today too again. Yes, we have another one. Adventure 2, but let's see this.
Ladies and gentlemen, Tati Avanti, and welcome to a ship review. Now today we are going to be taking a look at the Freelancer Misk. A few days ago we did take a look at the Freelancer Max. We've got the dirt to go, and we're going to take a look around. And the first thing I actually want to say is just to wish my little nephew Harry a happy birthday yesterday. Hope he had a nice day. We went out for a meal, and yeah, let's get on with the ship review. Right. First off, pretty obvious the colour. I actually really like it. It's probably one of the first ships I've seen that is all one colour like this, other than the little racers and so on. I actually really like this. I prefer it than the silver. Either this or black. I'm still yet to see a black ship inside of Star Citizen. For the very main reason, it's just going to be harder to see when you're in space. This sort of dark green, the military green, it just looks really smooth, doesn't it? I like the fact that it's actually a matted colour as well, and not sort of shiny. Just makes it look a lot nicer. Now what you will notice compared to the other Freelancer series is the front end. And clearly it's no way as wide as the Max. You can see it's quite narrow. And it's got these little ball things on the front as well, so you can tell the difference between the two of them quite easily. But very, very narrow. If you remember, the Freelancer Max was as wide as it was long. This is definitely not the case with this one. It's definitely longer than it is wide. And clearly it's got some good firepower as well, but we'll take a look around. Maybe we should go and have a look on the light side, probably a better idea, isn't it? Yeah, once again, really like the paint scheme. Looks really nice. Four of these in total. 2 hard points, but 4 guns. And these Gatling guns are awesome, must admit. Definitely motivates you to get something like a Misk if you're interested in decent firepower. We'll fire them off later as well when we go for a little bit of a flight. See how we get on with them. It does look very military, doesn't it? Sort of all these rounded edges. It looks very nice. I suppose the green would probably help if you're on a planet with lots of trees. I suppose if you landed in, you know, embed yourself in the trees somewhere, might be a little bit harder to see from the space or atmosphere. Let's look at these. Pretty decent, aren't they? I did notice something, for some unknown reason. The landing legs don't come down. It Landing mode, weird, isn't it? It just sort of lands on these. Maybe it's a bug. I'm guessing it is a bug because it just looks like it's sitting very, very low. They don't seem to attract it. Extend at the moment. If you remember, if you watched my previous video, you remember that the Freelancer Max, they actually extend out when you go into landing mode. At the moment, because they don't extend, it does cause a little bit of an issue because of this little tail piece there. So when you try and land, even if there's a small rock there, you do struggle. I did try and land on one of these pads, not that one there, but the smaller ones. Struggled a little bit. Engines are absolutely awesome. Now you can see clearly the difference between this and the previous Freelancers, and that is the engine housing is not encased. Now I'm guessing to reduce the IR output, you probably notice that pretty much the majority of the Star Citizen ships that advertise a low IR point.
Yes, small commercial break. I need the bathroom and look my upload to YouTube. It's 2:30 in the morning, very soon. Short break. I need some cola.
Things are really going full blast as Expo goers swarm the hall to get up close and personal with all the latest and greatest. And we're right alongside them, elbowing to the front of the line to get a first-hand look at a brand that inspires as much loyalty as it does uncomfortable glances. I'm talking, of course, about Drake Interplanetary. If controversy made your ships fly better, then Drake ships would probably fly a heck of a lot better. That's not to say piloting a ship from the no-frills manufacturer doesn't have its advantages. These are ships designed to get you from A to B in one piece, often with all your stuff still aboard. And sometimes, if the rumours are to be believed, with other people's stuff too. To quote Drake's marketing team, these are multi-role vessels, which, when translated, means they may not do anything perfectly, but they do a hell of a lot pretty damn well. We'll put that to the test later on when we see if the Drake Caterpillar is the perfect ship for hosting a wedding. There's plenty more coming up as Galactic Tour's Intergalactic Aerospace Expo special continues. Here we are at the Intergalactic Aerospace Expo, surrounded by some of the fastest, sleekest, sexiest ships ever to be plasma forged from dicarbidium laminate, or whatever it is they actually make ships out of. And so, of course, Galactic Tour turns its attention to none other than the ships of Misk. That sound you just heard was the Spectrum imploding with angry comments. But to those of you who doubt the beauty that resides in these flying steel sausages, I say to you that there is no manufacturer currently making ships half as interesting as these bastardized hybrids of human and Xi'an technology. While they may have the handling of your living room couch and cockpit visibility of a Min sunset, the bold design choices featured in the Reliant alone are enough to set my cold black heart beating again. Misk, like the way its ships handle cargo, is determined to drag us into the future. And whether you think the Xi'an are trustworthy or not, you have to admit the bastards know how to make a ship. Make sure you catch my one-on-one sit-down with their lead xenotech engineer when Galactic Tour's Intergalactic Aerospace Expo returns.
Yes, my upload has stopped to YouTube.
With the sheer size and scale of the Aerospace Expo, it can be easy to get overwhelmed by all there is to see and do. Luckily, you have Galactic Tour on hand to provide laser-like focus on only the best IAE has to offer. Today is no exception, as we set our sights on the mighty military machine that is Anvil Aerospace. From Hornets all the way to Super Hornets, Anvil ships are a classic example of designing with a purpose. Every angle of the hull and every rivet is there for a reason. And Anvil isn't happy just to rest on their blowing stuff up laurels. With the likes of the Carrack, Crucible and Terrapin in their lineup, Anvil has gone beyond military function to begin to really make a name for themselves in the private sector. Of course, a cynic might say that Anvil has to expand because Aegis is horning them out of all those sweet UEE contracts. But then again, I'm not a cynic. I say the more ships, the better. And boy, are there more ships coming up. Make sure you stay right there as Galactic Tour's Intergalactic Aerospace Expo special continues. Hello, Jax McCleary here once again at the Intergalactic Aerospace Expo. And apologies if I look a bit tender around the tips. Last night was Origin's big expo party, and let's just say I started off an M50, but by the end of the evening, I was about an 890 jump. To be perfectly honest, I can't think of a better way for Origin's ships to be celebrated than with drunken revelry. From day one, Origin has been crafting vehicles that are as fun to fly as they are to look at. I'm talking the stuff of locker posters, the kind of ship that few middle-aged pilots can resist the allure of. Sure, people may think you're a pompous arse if you come cruising up to the local Cryastro in one, but what do you care? You own a 350R. And they don't. Of course, the fantasy does tend to fade a bit when you have to fly an Origin ship day in, day out, and a few of the more questionable design choices start to rear their ugly heads. Yes, for that much money, you'd expect the seat to be comfortable. And sure, they tend to drift more than a senator making a promise. But then again, who cares when you're flying a ship that looks as good as their new 85X? Speaking of looking good for an exorbitant amount of credits, I'm about to go and get custom fitted for a high-tech racing suit, guaranteed to shave seconds off my lap time. Find out just how tightly it hugs to the curves of my body when our coverage of the Intergalactic Aerospace Expo continues. The really incredible thing about being here at the Intergalactic Aerospace Show is the unexpected surprises that sit idling around every corner. Everything and anything from utilising the urinal right next to a certain Squadron 42 pilot to realising my personal fantasy of piloting a Crusader Starliner with the 2946 champion Goss swim team. Ladies, congrats again on the win. You see, on any typical day, the big manufacturers suck up all the air in the...
I had to start my upload, my YouTube channel, because it stops sometimes, many times to stop, and then I had to add all my files in the line for upload, and copy description and titles and all this. And I had to do that many, can stop again in half an hour. This is why I get up and bed and look my upload. Yes, let's look this finish.
But at the expo, regular type people have a wonderful chance to discover some real gems. There's the newcomers like Kruger Intergalactic and Consolidated
I record
Outland.
this. Just watch it. If I take a break another time. Yes, let's look more on the ship.
Some unknown reason, the landing legs don't come down. In landing mode, weird, isn't it? It just sort of lands on these. Maybe it's a bug. I'm guessing it is a bug because it just looks like it's sitting very low. They don't seem to attract it. Extend at the moment. If you remember, if you watched my previous video, you remember that the Freelancer Max, they actually extend out when you go into landing mode. At the moment, because they don't extend, it does cause a little bit of an issue because of this little tail piece there. So when you try and land, even if there's a small rock there, you do struggle. I did try and land on one of these pads, not that one there, but the smaller ones. Struggled a little bit. Engines are absolutely awesome. Now you can see clearly the difference between this and the previous Freelancers, and that is the engine housing is not encased. Now I'm guessing to reduce the IR output, you probably notice that pretty much the majority of the Star Citizen ships that advertise a low IR point, they cover the engine shell, and they normally cover some of the rear exhaust as well, if you can call it that, or the rear engine, to try and reduce down that IR detection. But with the MISC, doesn't really seem to be the case, does it? I suppose you probably wouldn't be too bothered if they saw you coming, because you've got a decent bit of firepower. The engines look absolutely awesome, don't they? Got some little LEDs down here as well. Did notice them on the other ship. Can carry cargo in this as well. I mean, you could have this as your only ship inside of Star Citizen in the PTU for the next, year to 2 years. You can make money with it, but it's just going to be a bit of a slower journey. Clearly, the big advantage here is if you want to do sort of drug runs and make the most money, then you've got a decent amount of firepower to get in and get out and not blow up, basically. And if you're in the freelancer max, if you've got a bit of a crew with you and good gunners, you could still do it as well. All depending on how many people there, I guess. Let's take a look inside. There are some similar things, I would say, to the previous ones, and you can first off see that the door is literally half the size. Don't worry about that, they'll load in. Now, I did put some cargo in, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the lights on. We're going to show you some things. Yeah, to try this before. Someone said you can do it. I did mess around with it. Oh, there we go. Not sure if that actually... No. No major issue. Be handy if you could do it from there, wouldn't it? Just put it in flight ready, eh? You're bouncing around a bit, but we should be alright. Just to get the lights on. Here we are, cargo's in. It's a bit of a pain getting the cargo in. I know the cargo just appears in the cargo hold, but once again, them things, it all don't make sense, does it? They're in the way. How would you get that top box up there? You have to do some weird, lift the bottom one up and then slide the bottom in. This is a bit concerning. And these handles here, I suppose they've got caps on there. If it is like toxic waste, biohazard, someone comes in and pulls that handle. Yeah, one thing I did notice that is odd. Yeah, you noticed that as well, yes? Now, there is a problem with this. Have you thought about what it could be yet? Well, I'll give you a bit of a hint. Now, what have we got on the wall over here? Oh, so we got modules over here, shields. Yeah, that's going to be a problem. So, big problem, isn't it? I think that it can't stay like that. I can't see how it could stay like that. I mean, that means that when you're using this ship and you've got cargo, you're basically stuffed if one of these modules go here. You have to eject your cargo to get to these modules. But the weird thing about it is, if you look here, look, stand there. Now, I know this is hard to measure, isn't it? You know what I mean? Half a metre, maybe? And we just stand over here. It looks the same, doesn't it? The red lines, I mean, it's not a lot, is it? If you look at these sort of stripy lines here, you've sort of got, what, an inch, maybe 2 inches if I zoomed in. It might look like an inch from here, but let's just say 1 or 2 inches. On this side, you can see that you lose an inch, and just that 1 inch, and probably that handle, yeah? If we go around this side, theoretically, right, the handle's not there, so maybe... Nope. So, anyway, that is got to be a fix. They cannot leave that like that, because if these become active modules, I mean, you could even argue that when you're opening this door, that is enough room to look at that, isn't it? I mean, how do I get down here? Don't want to fall for the ship here, but you see what I'm getting at. You need to be able to crouch, don't you?